Welcome to Living Above the Drama. I'm your host, Dr. Georgiana Donadio, and today my guest is Dr. Alan David Young, who is a deep thinker and scientific, pragmatic individual with 5 degrees in the areas of study that include math, management science, education, and consciousness studies. He was a university professor at UCal Berkeley and dean at California State University East Bay for 10 years before his life path took him in a different direction. After he had spent 6 years immersed in the study of Jungian psychology, dream work, and clairvoyant development training. Today, he is a New Thought minister, teacher of intuitive training for over 500 clients internationally, and an intuitive counselor in private practice. Alan is also the author of several books that educate and encourage readers to understand how they can identify their purpose in life through the use of their own spiritual intuition. His latest book is Trinities to Enneagrams, Finding Your Identities and Life Stages. Alan, I am so excited to have you on the show, and I can't wait to share everything with the listeners because you are kind enough to do a reading for me. So we'll get into that, but first, welcome. It's so good to have you.
Well, thank you. Nice to hear from you, and for all those who are listening, thank you for listening. So I'm glad to be here.
Well, that's great, and we're glad you're here too. So, I mean, you are quite the enigma, I guess, in a sense, because you started off in your work. You're incredibly highly educated. You've got all kinds of degrees, and you love to learn. You said, and you clearly, in the conversation we had, wow, what a deep thinker. So you had this scientific, pragmatic, very educated perspective. And now you are immersed in spirituality, and you're a minister, and you're doing this wonderful intuitive counseling work. So give us a little background story about how you got from point A to point B where you are now.
Okay, see if I can give you a thumbnail. So I didn't really know how to define intuition, didn't know what it was, but when things kind of fell apart in my life in my years and years ago, a person suggested I get a psychic reading. I did, and I was blown away and impressed with the person's ability to just read my energy, my aura, to talk about the status of my life. I said, can I learn how to do that? He said, yeah, if you grease the palm, we'll teach you what we know. So that was a place called the Berkeley Psychic Institute. So I did that, and that opened up a whole new world for me. I didn't know totally what to do with that because they didn't respond to dreams, which I had an interest in. So I had to go off to Jungian psychology to learn more about that. They didn't respond much to religion, so I went to seminary to learn about that. But then I began to put it together more and more and turn to mysticism and New Thought, and that's what really allowed me to be where I am today. So it was a gradual transition, but had I not had a falling out in my life after being at a university for a while and ending a marriage and having a bad political campaign way back, I wouldn't probably have made the turn. Maybe I would have. Maybe I was destined to turn in this direction. But that's what got me started, a shift to getting a reading, finding out more about what this was all about and having to go to different places, and then beginning to discover mysticism and New Thought. And since then, and I've had my counseling practice since way back there as well, not at the time, but my counseling practice is 30 years old plus. And but as I got more into counseling and have clients call me, I do teach intuition training and help people to try to access their intuition. I've been on a mission to really try to simplify the idea of contacting the non-physical universe, having people be able to do their own readings for those who are willing to and want to, and just trying to explain the process of how one goes about getting the things that they want out of life, how they go about converting the thoughts that they have about stuff into things, because there is a process. And I've tried to make that simple with my writings, with my teachings, and that's really what my life is about, how to put people in touch with spirit, how to listen to spirit, and that's kind of where I was and where I'm going.
Well, you couldn't have said better words, because I know all the listeners are going, tell me, how do I get what I want in life? You know, you and I had talked in the in the pre-interview, which I just loved every minute of it. We had quite the robust conversation, and we were talking about, the questions we all want to know. Why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? And where do I go when I die? These are like the big ones, and now, the questions are turning into understanding more of like what happens to my soul. It's just become so, we've really taken a turn away from religion towards spirituality. And one of the things that you shared with me is understanding the difference between pragmatism and religion, which can be wonderful, but unfortunately kind of got off the rails a bit, and spirituality, which is really being part of and in the flow of the universal love that we're all given to. So you've got to tell us, how do we get what we want, Alan?
Well, it's the simple way is that thoughts are things. But just knowing that thoughts are things is not enough. We need to drill down, well, what do you mean by thoughts? And so if we drill down a bit, what that means is not only do you have to think about what you want, you have to continue to think about what you want to really get clear. It's like if you're trying to learn a foreign subject and you just think about it for a few minutes, pretty soon you're going to get bored and your mind is going to jump around and you say, I can't get it, I want this, but I can't get it. Well, you didn't keep your mind on it long enough. After you keep your mind on things long enough, then you have to really begin to articulate with clarity what it is, and so that you're clear. Almost like if you learn a new subject, you really know the new subject when you study it, maybe played the tape over a few times, and then you can explain it to someone else. Now, once you know what you want, the creative mind or the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind cannot resist your thinking. And once you do that, and sometimes scientists refer to this as dark energy, once we are clear about what we want, the subconscious mind takes that as a seed. And if we give a seed too quickly and our thinking is not very clear, we're going to get something back that's not very clear as well. But once we have a clear thought, and those are 3 steps to the clear thought, we take it to the subconscious mind because we say, this is my thinking universe. There's some things maybe I don't know. Can you help me out? So in order to do that, you have to become very quiet. You have to begin to listen as opposed to just speaking, and you have to be a little bit humble. Merge with the subconscious mind so much so that you know that if someone taps you on the back, you may say, oh, I was deep in thought. And then once you immerse yourself in that thought, which may only take 90 seconds or a short period, what's going to happen is you're going to receive an illumination. Oh, that's the answer. That's the intuition. Now, once you, with a little practice of putting your mind on a question that's very clear, letting yourself relax to get an answer, that process is going to come in seconds. It's not going to take 90 seconds or days. And then once you know once you get that illumination, voila, you just begin to sort of validate it. Well, is that really what I think it is? I got this intuition. I got this image. I got this message from the deeper mind. What does it mean? Well, that's where your skeptic comes in, and you kind of want to make sure it lines up with reality. Once you have that, then you're almost there. Then you can move into the idea of manifestation. What does manifestation mean? It means shouting out to the world or those around you or writing it down. This is my new insight. I'm so excited about it. Then you become interested in being disciplined to make that real. And then once you make it real and you begin to manifest in the concrete world, there's one more step. And that step is to make sure the people around you, the environment around you, is okay with this new revelation, with this new insight. Because if it's not accepted, the manifestation process is not complete. Now, many people will have a thought about what they want, but when they don't get it the next day, they're kind of frustrated. I had a client once, I can't believe this, but this is a real story. A client once, and I kind of talked about thoughts or things, and you can have whatever you want. This guy went home, and he prayed and prayed all night to have God put $1 million in his glove compartment of his car.
Oh, no.
The next day, he went out there, and $1 million wasn't in his car, and he said, Dr. Allen told me I could do this and it would be there. So he just told me a lie. I prayed and prayed and the money wasn't there. Well, he missed a whole bunch of steps. Okay. Now, that's kind of a humorous story, but it actually did happen.
Wow.
So there's a process. Now, those 9 steps I mentioned, 3 steps
let's
of
break
thinking.
them down, Alan. Let's break them down like bullet points. So we'll break them down real clear. So anybody who's listening, get a pencil and write down these bullet points. Seriously.
Okay. So there's 3 steps to the thought process. The first step is to have your question, have your initial thought, almost like learning a new subject. Step 2 is you got to Keep your mind on the subject, kind of like taking a tape recording, taking a bunch of notes, looking at the book over and over to the point where you really got it. It's like if you're learning how to do math or learning how to do physics, you usually have to really immerse yourself in the thought. And once you know it, what you're talking about, what you've been trying to learn, then you try to teach it to other people, show people what you know, tell people what you know. When you have that kind of clarity, you have a clear thought. Now, it doesn't necessarily take, those steps don't have to be stretched out over a long period of time, like for a whole academic course. Maybe you can do that in a day or a short period, but usually that's the problem, is people have a thought, but it's not a well-focused thought. Once you have that well-focused thought to the point where you can explain it clearly to other people, the universe will take that thought as a seed, and all you have to do is say, universe, and maybe you don't say this formally, I want to be quiet, I want to listen to what you have to say, what you have to give me, so I'm going to put my attention on you and move my ego aside, try to immerse myself and take that object, take that question into meditative state, which may take 90 seconds, could take longer, could take less, and then you're going to get an illumination. Something is going to jump out at you. Even if nothing jumps out at you, it means something. Everything means something when you're in meditation. I often tell people, if you do this and you get something, this is what it means. If you get nothing, nothing means something, something means something. If you get nothing, it just means there's no answer to your question at this time. Okay, wow. So don't take a blank as a rejection. Just take it as there's no answer. Then once you get that illumination, almost like an inventor, light bulbs go off and you say, oh, I know what the answer is. Well, that's the beginning of manifestation, but you have to, before you can go out and begin to manifest, you have to test it with reality. Well, I got this insight from the universe. How do I pick this apart and make it real? How do I line it up with something that's concrete? And then once you have that understanding, then you're ready to actually manifest. So there's 3 steps to manifestation. So you have those 3 intermediate steps when your relationship with the subconscious mind. 1 is lining yourself up with it. 2 is waiting for the illumination, and 3 is picking it apart to make sure it lines up with something that's real. Then the 3 manifestation steps begin with number 1. What's the well, I'm so excited about what this new revelation is, what this new vision is. I'm going to start sharing it with the world. It's almost like a minister just getting out of seminary and being so excited about what they got that they want to share the good news, or someone just coming out of school and wanting to teach for the first time to actually make money. Okay, so the first step is that you take the enthusiasm and you begin to share it with people around you. Then you move into a step of disciplined focus. I know what I'm talking about. I know how to present this to the world verbally. I know how to share it. Now I'm going to be a little bit hard-nosed, a little bit disciplined, and I'm going to make it real. Kind of like you can think about it as the Martin Luther King step. Even though he was a peacemaker, he was on a mission to bring civil rights to humanity. So he became a little bit hard-nosed and kept at it till it happened. And then the last step is the step of mediation or integration where, okay, I put this out, but now I have to have people accept it. I have to make this marriage of the old stuff that's already there and this new thing I'm bringing forth. I have to make it okay with individuals. Kind of like getting married. You want to have a little ritual so people accept you. Or if you graduate from college, you don't want to just say I'm a college graduate. You want to be able to show your degree, so there's a little ritual process there. That completes the cycle. Then the next thing you want to invent or do, you start all over again. Now, you may not think of those 9 steps, or you may think of them as clumsy, but that's literally the process to go through. You can say thoughts or things, that's fine, but if that probably is not enough information, because between thoughts and things are a bunch of laws, little regulations. There's this thing called dark matter. It's the stuff in the universe that makes forms out of thoughts. In New Thought, we call it the conscious mind. Well, the conscious mind is great. We all have one. We all have an ego. And whatever we think, the subconscious mind of that creative mind cannot resist. We think bad thoughts, guess what? We're going to get bad stuff. But once you drop thoughts into the subconscious mind, there's going to be manifestation. But if you're careful about your thinking, and you think things and not just speak before thinking, think first and then speak, so it's careful to choose your words and make sure you really know what you're talking about or that you're really clear. Then as you go through the steps, you're going to get a clear outcome. And it's going to take a long time if you've never done it before, but after a while, manifestation is going to come easy. Now, simply put, here's what I would say. All the money that you possibly want, all the good and joy that you want, is actually right in front of you. It's in the non-physical universe. The way you get it into the physical universe is to define what it is that you want and to allow yourself to receive it. But there is a process, and those are the 9 steps. Those particular 9 steps are what I call the enneagram stages of consciousness. They're universal. Everybody goes through them. They may call them by different names. If you simplify it too much, you can still do it. But if you just say, whatever I put my thoughts on, I want to get things. Well, okay, you need a little bit more information than that. You can't just say, I like physics, I'm going to be a physicist. Well, forget it. It's going to take some time.
It's kind of like going to the store. You have to know what you're looking to buy. You can't just walk in the store and say, oh, let me see.
Exactly.
Oh, I want to go shopping. I want to buy something, but I'm not quite sure what it is,
Exactly. And a related thing, a very, very quick story. I had someone come in once, and they actually came in for reading, and they saw my cards lying on the surface, and they just picked one up. What does this mean? I said, well, I can tell you what it means, but did you have a question when you pulled the card? If you didn't, it's just cards. But if you have a question, then it becomes a meaningful card. So whatever happens, if we're applying it to something, it becomes a meaningful coincidence or a meaningful impersonal event. If we have no question in mind or we're not looking deeper, it's like going into the store and you just start buying stuff that you want or don't even want kind of thing. It's just nice stuff.
Yeah, it really is like that when you think about it, about the way we live our lives today. We are going to have to take a commercial